if my face turns, it's because I've got some hamstring tears right now and a rotated
Oh,
pelvis.
that shit hurts. I'm sorry.
And they can't operate, so I'm just here on the grace of whatever I'm on right now. just
Torn
hanging out.
hamstring.
But yeah, so the bar stools usually don't work for me, so I just try to stand or I, kind of lean or whatever I do. Because sitting doesn't work for me right now. But first and foremost, thank you for coming out. I really, really appreciate it. I know in this day and age, with everything and all of us being shut off from each other, that these opportunities to get together and just talk with people and meet people, it's like being alive again for most of us. And especially on a weeknight, when it's dark out, it gets dark early, I really, really appreciate you coming out and being here with us so that we can share some wisdom. As I said earlier, by the time you leave, I want you to have some nuggets to implement right away into what you're doing, because we can all agree right now, none of us are experts, not even myself, 100, like know everything about social media. And before I get into things, I just want to do like a really quick survey, just kind of get a feel. You guys can play along too. I know, it just kind of gives me a feel of where to go. I know you said you're online a lot, right? So just show a hand or nod. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest.
Yes.
Okay. Even if it's just playing for yourself, Pinterest. Do you use YouTube at all? Just to watch videos? Okay. Yeah, okay. So it's when you're in those environments, do you feel that you're getting value from them as a consumer, just being there as a person? Is it mostly positive, or do you feel like it's a negative environment?
I think it's positive.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know too. I'm a very firm believer that social media is what we make it, and ultimately there are settings and there are controls, and we control whether there is a person or as a business, how we present ourselves and connect to the community. I see social media as a billboard type of situation where the goal is, it's like a funnel. You're bringing in people, you're interacting with people, and your communication needs to be circular in a social media environment. And what we have learned is, over time, and in my own experience of doing this, and I'll give you a little bit of background in a second, is that most people don't understand the ins and outs of it. Do you feel comfortable? Do you understand what makes good content on Facebook?
I'm going to answer that question.
Okay. Instagram.
I don't use Instagram.
Okay. So that's what I have found. Most people don't even understand what makes good content. Do you know the best time of day to post?
Morning?
It varies. Exactly. Morning, evenings, when people think about intuitively, when people wake up, they reach over, what are they doing? They're grabbing
Or
off
when
the
they get off of
nightstand.
work.
They're getting off of work. They're going to lunch, right? There's certain times of the day, depending on what kind of business you're running, where your customer is there, and you know when to go out and interact with them. I know you said you were retired. Me personally, I feel like some days I wish I could clone myself, just because there's so many opportunities out there and there's things to do. And most business owners, I know, like for Chris running 2 businesses and for Chuck being the editor of the publication, they don't have time to think about things like marketing and finding customers and learning to know their customer, because a lot of people also don't understand. Did you know that there's notifications and insight reports on Facebook and Instagram? Yeah, if you run a Facebook page or a group,
Oh, yes, when I did have a page.
either one,
Yes, I
page
remember that.
or group, you can see insights and you can see information about your people. So based on that is why we're here and why I'm sharing, because the competitive edge that we have and offer in the marketplace is we have figured out system-wise what allows circular communication with our clients, to where when we look at our Facebook pages to watch and we compare those to all the other publications locally as well as regionally, we have more engagement with less followers. Our percentages, we outcompete all of them. And it's not just a fluke thing, it's week after week after week, because we know the formula that it takes to get out there, to be seen, to go into groups, to take content off the page and put it into groups, to to get comments, to get shares, right? Because that's what makes stuff viral. You and I both know, when we open that Facebook app, most people don't understand that by default, it's going to show you the algorithm of what it thinks is going to keep you in that app. Most people don't know to turn on notifications, to get notifications from their favorite pages or groups. Most people don't even know how to click the dots in the top of a post and click turn on notifications without writing an F or follow. It's little tiny nuances of interacting with people the same way you would interact with them if they were at your table at a festival, or interact with you when they come into a store. Like if you imagined you had a virtual storefront and you said, you make jewelry, you do painting, so let's say you do a bunch of stuff, you set it up on some tables. How would you interact with them if they came in? How would you show them your process? How would you educate them about why you use this product over this brand and what you learned in your experience? Because that's what people want. The social media world isn't going away. People would like it to, but it's not. It has completely changed the world. And what we're finding is, even for somebody like us, this little regional brand over 2 counties with a newspaper, sometimes we have stories that will go up into other countries just because they go viral. Feel-good things that people want to hear about, positive news, happy stories, stuff about farming, recipes, right? The simple things that make people happy. So the big thing I want you to take away today is, number one, the reason people advertise with us is because nobody can touch us, period. The end. It's there in documentation, and we back it up. We literally have, for our little tiny 2,000 followers, we have 2,000 followers approximately over a year on Facebook. We get anywhere from 6,000 to 17,000 engagement a week. And on top of that, we've got about 20,000 users and 60,000 hits on the website a month.
Can I just jump in real quick? Yeah. What that means to us is we can charge more for our advertising. So this has a direct relationship to the success of business. Also, the other thing, if I may say, I'm bragging on Anita, but that's an extraordinary growth in users. We went from nothing in August of 2020, in the middle of COVID, like literally the dead of COVID.
Yeah, July.
Chuck and I were meeting in an abandoned house, basically, to start the business. And,
That's where you live now.
Yeah, I live out, yeah. It's no longer abandoned, I live in it now. But we went from that to almost 2,000 Facebook users. And what the Facebook users do, what I think is an interesting insight maybe for you is, the social presence drives traffic to the site, which drives value to the site. So it has a direct impact on the success of the business. Direct. And it's been an extraordinary, the growth has been extraordinary.
Well, yeah, our constant contact, for instance, we have a 47% on average open rate of constant contact. That's unheard of in the industry.
I've been in
To
advertising
have,
20 years.
to click
I've never
and
seen
to open. So what we have found is the people who opt in with us and come into the circle, as I call it, that circular communication, they want to be there. So ultimately, that's what you want. You want clients who are there. So what we do, and what Chris mentioned earlier, is where the advertising side of our house, for you guys, might be more of a co-op type thing. But where we can really help is on the media side of our house, where we have these social media services, where I'm the one you're working with, and we have businesses come in that don't even advertise with us necessarily, and they come to us and they kind of piecemeal out what they're not comfortable with their social media, or what they want to learn, because I do consulting with them, and I'll go in and I'll review somebody's social media, and then we'll meet and give suggestions. And that's kind of like a consulting side. And then there's another side of it where, for instance, I have, and this is where I'll explain my background. I got on the internet during the America Online days, right, where everybody was sending the discs to the house and you had dial-up. And I don't know if you remember the GeoCity website days, but that's where people went to create little websites that were artists, bands, anybody that wanted a website that could do it themselves, the HTML, and it was a free place. And at that point in my life, I was working in law firms, legal secretary, paralegal type work, and my side hustle was working with bands doing merch, slinging merch, because I had friends, musicians. That was my number one love in life. So as soon as this internet thing started hitting, I was like, why aren't we going in chat rooms and talking about these bands and where they're going to? I can join a chat room in Raleigh, North Carolina, knowing we have a route that's going to take us to Raleigh and build the buzz in that area before we go. So how that relates to you is when you have a show and you know you're going to book a really big show somewhere, and it's like festival leads, right? You know all these people come in, leaflets come in from out of town. You know if it's going to be like, let's say Front Royal, and you don't live in Front Royal, your goal is to get into Front Royal groups and interact with Front Royal people so that they know you exist and they're getting notifications that so-and-so's art page or so-and-so's jewelry shop was interacting with them. And then they go, who is that person? They go to look at your page, they see in your events, you're getting ready to come to the fall art show, festival leaves, whatever you're coming to, and then they're like, oh,
Festival leaves.
I need to go buy your table. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're building buzz. So that is what happened with the GeoCity days. I saw this light bulb, America Online, GeoCities, why aren't we doing this with these bands? And started doing that for bands, just for fun, because I loved it. So along came MySpace, same thing. Facebook, same thing. By the time Facebook came around, I had my own blog for other stuff not related to music business, not related to publishing, not related to journalism, just my own little fun blog. And I did that. I built a Facebook page. I had hundreds of thousands of insights. And then Facebook became publicly traded, and what do you think happened? The algorithm happened. And every page admin I know was pulling their hair out because their numbers of organic growth went boom, and just the bottom fell out. And so I became hell-bent determined on how to get around the algorithm and how to drive engagement without ever having to pay or boost a post. I am a very firm believer, another piece of advice, never pay to boost or sponsor a post to collect likes on a page unless you've got a really strong content plan, because it's pointless to bring them in if you can't keep them there. Because then they fall out of the algorithm and you lose them. And it's very hard to get them back unless you boost or sponsor. So the goal is, when you have content and you have a plan, is to make sure that if you're going to boost or sponsor, there's money to be made. So for bands, they boost and sponsor gigs because they're going to sell tickets, right? And they want their 1 million followers on the Seven Dust Facebook page to see them there, that might not necessarily always be interacting with that page, that aren't in the algorithm, because that's the name of the game. The algorithm's going to show you what you interact with, unless you intentionally go in and click most recent. Instagram, you cannot do that. You can only do that on Facebook. So, tips of success: regular content, different types of content. Because people get bored with rah, look at me, I have this sale going on, right? That's just not circular communication. It's not getting to know your people. It's not taking an interest in who they are and why they're shopping with you.
A lot of big brands made that mistake.
You know, it's huge.
Make that mistake.
And so it's all about taking, as I said, that table-to-table experience of what you do in real life and taking it into a virtual world. And allowing people in a way that's meaningful and authentic and fits your needs and your brand. Because everything that we do or I do for an entity might not be what you need done. You might not have any problem clicking on notifications and going and saying thanks for your comment or getting it back to people and interacting with them, right? You might not have a problem putting content into Facebook groups or going out on Instagram to a location tag or an area tag and interacting with people with that in that area who have public accounts, who have put up recent content, and drawing them in. An example of that is a podcast that I take care of out of Ohio, The Paranormal. They deal with a lot of cryptids and weird stuff, and fun stuff, and Bigfoot. So what do? I go to Area 51. I go to the Mothman Museum in West Virginia. I click on locations in Instagram and interact with the content as that entity, and they collect likes. And that's what we've done here. If you go out, you interact, and you just have that formula of what makes your business successful. Now, outside of the social, because that's all, I have to say for the social, again, we do have different services. We piecemeal them. Some people work with us on consulting. Some people will pay us. At the bottom of the barrel, it's as little as $100 a month, $115 a month. Once you add on, admin and that kind of mess, $115 a month just to pay us to go out and interact with people as your brand. That's just one service, and bring in the likes. And then there's, like I said, there's the consulting side of the fence, which $70 an hour, but of course it's all geared specifically to your business and looking at what you've already done, understanding what your skill set is and what you feel comfortable doing versus what you need help with or need to farm out or just need to learn and refine. Because a lot of people don't have an issue going out and getting a book and learning it themselves, right, and implementing it. But you still need to know your marketplace, and you still need to understand if you're going to go and sell this stuff online on Etsy, Amazon, wherever you want to sell your goods and arts, have your own website with your own sales system to where you're not paying somebody overhead to be seen elsewhere, right? That's the name of the game, ultimately. There are ways to do it, and you can use the value of social media, which is free. It's always free as far as the platforms. We don't pay to use the platforms, and they say they will always be free. I mean, I call Zuckerberg Daddy Zuckerberg, okay? But Daddy Zuckerberg says when you log in, Facebook will always be free. They might try to collect your info and obviously control the algorithm, but there are ways around it. And that's just what I want people to know, is that there's hope. Whether you have those skills or not, I have those skills. I'm sharing them for them because I love these guys, and we've been able to prove that it works. I mean, truly, Chuck told him when they started this, Nita has to come in because this is the only person I'm going to let touch social media.
We knew we had to get big fast.
And so it was, because we didn't have, that.
And we did.
That
We
crazy,
did.
yes, that crazy. We literally, our main competitors are the Rappahannock News and what is it, Madison Eagle?
That's an eagle.
Week after week, we have more reach, more engagement than they do.
There's a.
They've been
couple of
around
graphics
forever.
in our packet here to show you what Nita means. But when you look at the number of posts we put up, and then you look at the number of engagements we get with the posts, we get more than almost anybody. Other people put up more posts, like the Culpeper Star Exponent. Why can't I ever remember
Bought
that?
here now.
Literally just talking about that. They put up 250 posts a week, and they get 17,000 engagement. But they put up 250 posts. We put up what, 20?
We get 20 to 30,
25,
and
30?
we'll have
And we get-
16,000 engagement, 10,000 engagement,
Yeah.
6,000 engagement.
Yeah.
which
And
is
we only
way
have
above our-
2,000,
ratio
we only have
much
2,000 likes. Whereas Fauquier now is up around 34,000 likes.
Right. So
You know,
think
and-
about it like a very light boxer who hits super hard. That's who we are.
Yeah, percentage-wise, when you do the math and you look at, I always call the formula, you always take your formula and you look at your engagement over your number of followers, X over 100. That's your formula. Because you're looking for the percentage of how far did you reach people on that space beyond your follower base, right? So this is where we have literally over 1,000% some weeks.
Yeah.
And these other publications just don't. And they're leaving, yes, they're putting stuff out. Yes, they might be in print. But again, they don't know their demographic. So just so you understand, our demographic, we know 74% women.
On
We
Facebook.
know, on Facebook.
On
when
the,
people are-
on the
yeah.
site, it's a little more even,
Google's about 50-50.
but Facebook's
But Facebook is, we know on Facebook it's 74-75% women. We know what TV shows they like. That's part of, you can get through the insights. We can see what other pages they like and interact with, what other, musicians, that kind of thing. So when you have a page you can see that information because of the insights.
One week, we did a story on a foreign exchange student playing golf for a high school. And the same week we had, and he's from Italy, and the same week we had a court case involving Hispanic.
And all
And all of our
the-
logarithms
All
got
flipped over.
shifted to Portugal and Brazil and, yeah.
Because of the pages, the people who were reading our content were following those other pages that we'd never heard of, and artists we didn't know, because that's what was coming in and reading the content that week that we had put out. So it's fascinating to watch location, like we know we have businesses in Culpeper as well as individuals in Culpeper. And the reason I say businesses is because when you have a Facebook page, right now, they're changing from a like system to followers. But there's both right now, there's likes and followers. Businesses usually follow, like a page will follow another page, whereas an individual, we will like a page. And so it's interesting to watch week after week. We pick up about 100 likes to 100 followers a month on average. So it's interesting to watch the other businesses and the pages because, again, in an ideal circumstance, we would have had a lot of business owners here. And I would have shut up a long time ago. And y'all would have been talking to each other about where you're at, what you're selling, what you're doing online, what you need from each other. Because that's the other part of this. You have to interact with each other. You have to build each other as a community. You
We
have
try-
to share each other's posts.
We try to interact with businesses that don't advertise with us.
You
Because
have-
they might in the future, but also because we're trying to promote.
It's building
Local
community.
businesses.
You're building community.
We want
The
that
more-
community.
I want them to stay open, especially in Rappahannock. I don't know how often you've been in Rappahannock, but the business turnover there is wretched. People can't stay. It hurts. And I know if they were there more on social, the businesses that are strong on social, like Penn Druid, Sumac, down in Sperryville, who else is really strong in social? Flourish Root, Jen is real strong on her social. Those businesses have
Walmart.
endured. Yeah, they have endured. Robert Archer's real good with his social. The people who have learned how to take that storefront or that skill or that service and explain and engage with their audience online have been able to withstand the pandemic, and they've been able to grow. Whereas the people who don't want to be on social media and don't want to at least tell the message of who they are and what they're looking for and what they have to offer, they're stagnating and they're dying. And I don't want that, not for my community, because I want the businesses to be there in Rappahannock. He wants the businesses in Madison, where he lives. You know, he's splitting his time between Rappahannock and Warrenton, bouncing back and forth for work, for his office, for his advertising business, and he sees it too. Because he's involved in all the chambers, both of them, whereas me, I'm just kind of, doing my thing at home, taking care of all this. They're out there with the chambers, and time after time after time after time, when we're on like Zoom calls and Mixer calls, the number one thing people want help with is social media.
Most people can't manage it.
Because they don't understand it, or they don't have the
They don't
time.
have the time.
Now,
Time is
you have the
problem.
time, right? Because you're retired. You have
Yeah,
the
so
time.
You're in a good position, but a lot of people don't have the time. And how many Facebook pages or YouTube channels have you seen that they post at a pretty good cadence at first, and then 1 week becomes 2 weeks, becomes 3 weeks, becomes a month.
And you lose people in the
6
algorithm.
months. Right, and then you fall off like that.
Instagram, you have to post on the grid at least minimum every 3 days to stay in anybody's algorithm. Preferably every day. That's just the grid. And stories up top, those little stories, you should be running every day. Every day. Even if it's just sharing quotes or a sunset picture or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's all about that circle
We do pretty well
of
with contests too.
keeping. Huh?
We do pretty well with contests too. We invite people to say stuff and what
Oh,
are you
yeah.
doing? What are your thoughts?
Surveys, again, circular communication. Where's your favorite place to shop? Where's your favorite place to eat? Where's, what are you putting on your Thanksgiving table this year?
Yeah. Like
That
if
kind of, it's circular, genuine, real conversation that you
You
would
can have
have
like
if
a-
we
you
were
can
at a
have a-
coffee shop.
Sorry. You could have an ugly jewelry contest around Christmas time. And just be like, send me all the ugly pictures of the garbage your husband's got. Everybody send them in. Seriously, I mean, I think that's an example of
Having fun.
not making it about you. You know what I mean? I said before, but a lot of big brands make that mistake. They think there was a famous thing where Baskin Robbins was like, tweet us your favorite ice cream flavors for the JFK, you know, and people started just troll. People, they get trolled all the time, you know. People were like, yeah, chemical toilet fudge, or whatever. And they're just totally not taking it seriously because it's just obvious that all Baskin Robbins wants is your money. They don't really care about you. They're being 100% inauthentic. But if you sort of have fun with it and say, send me your ugly jewelry or whatever, you know, keep it on your business. But you're gonna get people that are interested. People are going to want to have a conversation with you. They're going to want to be friends with you, and that's my monkey level understanding of how this works.
Well, and he's been a great student. I love it because like even when I'm like, hey, you should read this book, he'll go get the book.
I will.
It just, you know, because he's learning too, and that's where I find my joy and happiness. Always, it's about beating Daddy Zuckerberg and his algorithm because he pissed me off when he went public. I hide that nowhere. I'm blatantly honest. Both y'all are recording it. It's just a fact. So,
Hey, Leah, how's it going? Come on
hi,
in.
come on in.
This is Leah Bernardino. She's our advertising manager. Hey, how's it going?
She came all the way from Nova.
All the way from nowhere. Yeah, we had the turnout was not huge tonight, but we did get.
But we're here and we're going to get you on video
Hi, how
because
are you?
we've never met before. So,
Oh.
hey, you
This is
know.
our first episode. Can I get you a beer or something?
No, I'm good, I'm good.
right,
I'm
well, have a
going
seat.
to work tomorrow.
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so I had just finished talking about social media and we